I mean, give me a sense of what the foreign the foreign relations landscape looks like. Then are we then basically just empowering oligarchs in other countries? I mean, almost as like as an unstated, obvious, I guess, side effect, or maybe that's not a side effect. Maybe that's not a pleasant bug. That's actually a specific feature. But right, I mean, it's because it's oligarchs who control all of these resources, and increasingly so probably here, corporate oligarchs. But in all these other countries, and we're talking about enriching a few global elite, and everybody. It's almost like everybody's just getting together for their sort of a rolling Davos.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think you would have had different outcomes or different courses of action in Libya, in Egypt, in Yemen, in Nigeria, and all of these in Syria, all of these flare-up points that have some sort of inflection point with oil somewhere would have been different under a Trump presidency than an Obama one. And moving forward, the new dust-ups that occur, because nothing's ever quiet for long, will have the progress there, and the United States' role and influence in those dust-ups will be monumentally different based upon those inflection points of oil. That's what I believe is going to happen. And that's, again, it won't hinge upon people who are being who are under control of oligarchs, or are being slaughtered, or are being oppressed, or are otherwise being economically denied. It will be much more based upon, our foreign policy will be much more based upon the resources contained in that country, and how they will impact the United States economy and the global economy and the profitability of companies just like Exxon. And that's where we are, Sam.
This might be outside your portfolio a little bit, but is that going to be inherently destabilizing? I mean, if you are, if you're only having that one sort of northern star to guide what you're doing, it seems to me that you're going to be missing a lot of this other stuff that's happening.
I think destabilizing it won't be. I mean, sometimes, if we could argue, and you're right, it's slightly outside my view, but we could argue that Iraq was quieter under Saddam Hussein, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could argue that Egypt was quieter.
So, in some respects, this may keep us out of more conflicts because all we care about is wealth extraction in some fashion, and we can make a deal.
Yeah, but it makes us less human.
Right.
I
It's
mean,
at the expense of maybe another of other people. And
yeah, yeah, I think that's exactly right.
where should we be looking? I mean, if there were countries to be looking at to say like what's going on there, obviously Russia seems to be top of the list in terms of like a reorientation. Where else?
Iran for sure. I think you'll see a turnaround in some of the nations of Africa, which will go under the radar because not many people know about the foreign relationships that we have in Africa, but they're going to come to the fore because there's oil resources there, and very much the oil companies have been on their own in terms of dealing with foreign governments there. Iraq for sure. I mean, I take Trump at his word in a lot of things that he says. And when he talks about regaining a certain amount of influence in Iraq over oil resources, I think he means business, and to the degree that Tillerson can make that happen, and he can to a very large degree. He knows everybody there. He's going to make that happen. And past that, here in the United States, you'll see movement again towards drilling in the Arctic. You'll see movement again towards the increase of infrastructure building, pipelines. Keystone will come back. I'm telling you, Keystone will be back, even though nobody wants it anymore. Even though it's nobody wants it built anymore, it'll be back. And I think those are the spots, to be looking at from a foreign policy point of view. Where things dust up, where things have issue, no one can say where they're going to come forward. But
What,
I tell you, if you keep this in mind, if you keep that idea of resources, natural resources, control of natural resources, influence into natural resources, and the inflection point of oil in the front of your mind, you'll get a really good sense of what's going to happen. It
and,
won't be hard to see.
lastly, what about Europe? I mean, what about a place that like
I mean, the Europeans are on their own. Hasn't Trump made that clear? They're on their own. You got to take care of your own defense. You got to take care of your own economy. Brexit is good. This
because
is
they're just customers.
exactly. They've got their. You're, as far as we're concerned, you're on your own. You're on your own. We're in a different. We're moving in a different place. The world has changed. This is no longer the post World War II collective of Western nations against Eastern nations. This is about those with resources and those without. And I think that's really the way Trump is going to reorder the world.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Some over. Subscribe.